Hey y'all, I know it's been a minute. I was sitting here trying to do some work, but they out there in the pool making all that noise and everything on the 4th. So I figured I would sit here and come on here for a minute. I know this YouTube thing, this influencer thing is not good for me because y'all know I got a lot on my plate. And trying to maintain something like this is going to be the act of God, I guess. I said I would sit on here and try, and that's what I'm doing. Um, since I can't do what I want to do with my notes and stuff, I figured I would come on here and try to answer something that somebody asked me. It was talking about how do I keep my composure? How do I, do my self care, especially with everything that's coming at me all the time? For my Bible scholars, if you remember over there in Matthew 5, it talks about blessed are those who are persecuted. If you're not being persecuted, then that means you ain't blessed. Anytime you are living life on a level that other people aren't living on, you have jealousy, you have all these negative, toxic energies that you have to, you know, battle or whatever. Like I say, I always pick and choose my battles. I pick and choose what I'm gonna do and what I'm not gonna do. That's one way I keep my composure. Because if you always battling, if you always fighting people that's fighting against you, it tends to make you old. You start to look old. I know 30, 40-year-old women that look like they 80, 90 years old. The wrinkles and the gray hair. I ain't saying I ain't got no gray hair, but I try to keep myself together. Let's just say that. But anyway, I'm like I say, somebody was asking how do you keep your composure? For the ones that look on my TikTok and my other YouTube channel, you can tell the things that I'm going through, and they wanted to know how I keep my composure. And you'll say it's easy, but when you are a person that's in the spotlight, I want to say, you can't just go willy nilly. You can't wild out because people will lose respect. And if they lose respect, what's the point in trying to do this? Even in my industry, if I'm wilding out all the time, if I'm doing negative energy, if I'm coming up against people, going upside people's head in a way that's not good because they tend to lose respect for you. Now, I'm not saying I don't go up against people. I just make sure it's the right way. And generally, I use law enforcement and legalities when I go against people. Oftentimes, I have people in place that all I got to do is say a word and they take care of it for me. I try to stay out of mess because I don't like people that are petty, that always gossip. Be careful of the ones that's always putting your name and stuff. I kind of stay away from them. That's another way I protect my composure, my countenance, or whatever. Is you got to know who's in your circle. Is it beneficial or is there agenda? Remember, I told y'all before I'm a behavior analyst. I meet people in the spirit before I meet them or they ever say a word to me. What does that mean? Well, when you're thinking about countenance, countenance is your facial expression. It's the way a person presents themselves. Um, I say it's personality because your countenance expresses what's going on spiritually on the inside of you. It expresses the energy that's going on the inside of you. So, say I'm mad, or I'm a woman that scold, or I'm angry. That's going to protrude through my countenance. You ever walk up against somebody, or you see somebody and they look like they always mad all the time, you know, or even tall gentlemen, that have this certain look on their face, this certain expression on their face to where you don't know whether you want to talk to them or not, because that's their countenance expressing what's on the inside. Now, some people just do that as a status. So let's say, like, for example, a security officer, they may have that look, as part of their job, part of their position, because, they want to make it appear as though they're firm, and maybe they're not. Maybe they have some insecurities or something of that effect. But for some, it's just part of they their position. When they off work, you get a whole different countenance. They may be hanging over here with these energies, and that's fun, or maybe sitting at a bar, and you can't sit up there like that and not be, people want to be friendly with you. So the countenance is your facial expression. And your facial expression is generally the personality or the energy that's that's hiding behind your facial expression, if I can put it like that. So you got to pay attention to people's countenance. You ever have somebody that you would wait till they said something before you even said hello or responded, because you're doing that because you're trying to see what type of day they're going to have? It's something like that. There are certain people that you don't want to speak to, because if their countenance or their energy is shady or off, or something you don't want to deal with, you don't even say nothing to them. Well, some people don't. Some people open up a can of worms. You know, be careful asking people how they feel, because they might tell you the truth. I'm one of those ones. Don't ask me. If you don't want to know the truth, don't ask me, because I'm not going to tell no lie. Anytime somebody does something, I say, I always tell them, don't get me to ask no questions. Don't have me answer no questions, because I'm not going to tell no lie. If you don't want nothing exposed, because I like walking in truth, because I don't have to remember or try to. I was never good at trying to remember what I told this one or that one or what. It's just easier for me to stay in one vein, to tell the truth, to walk in peace. So if you don't want me to be a part of something, you don't want me to know something, keep it over there. I'm just that type of person, because I don't like getting twisted up. That Leviathan spirit, I don't like getting twisted up in people's stuff. And I be done told somebody one thing, and then I be done forgotten, told the truth over here, and they don't. I'm just one of those type of people that like to walk in truth, because it's easier. It keeps the wrinkles away. you know, Peace. You walk in peace when you walk in truth. But like I say, I'm not gonna make this too long. I'm gonna try to do bite-sized pieces, that I call it, so that people are able to digest and take time to learn. Because if you pour out too much information, what I have learned is that they gather all the information, but if they don't ever have time to go back and sit with it, to go through it again, they're not going to get everything all in one session. So I'm going to talk about bite size. So what I want to start is, I guess I'm going to start a series of videos that address how I walk. Somebody asked me, as a therapist, though, do I listen to my own approaches? Do I apply the approaches to my own life? And I tell them yes. I even started it in raising my children through learning to be a therapist and these approaches is how I raise my children. That was another question people asked me. How are my children so respectful, and how did I get them, or raise them the way that, they are, to, supervisor status, and, you know, to be as blessed as they are. Not saying they're perfect and they don't go through things, but they're not out here doing things. And I by the grace of God, I was able to keep them all out of the hands of law enforcement as far as in any kind of jail or prison or anything like that, just by raising them the way I raised them. Not saying they ain't been in handcuffs, not saying that I haven't had to receive them from the officers getting ready to be arrested, but God has always given me favor to where I would get a phone call, sometimes in the wee early in the morning, and I would have to go down and pick up my child, and they release them to me instead of, they've never seen the inside of a jail except, well, my baby boy, he did that when they was doing those scared straight things. That was an officer who took him back there, you know just to give him an idea of what he was looking forward to. And he came out of there and said, Mama, I can't do that toilet. It's in the middle of the room with everybody in there. He said, I can't do the toilet. So I don't know, maybe that kept him from going in there or what. But God has always given me favor and blessed so that my children, I never had to deal with that part. So when I have people that come to me dealing with that, if I can't relate to them, if I can't, give them any approaches or any truths that, relate to that portion, I refer them out. Because that's one thing I don't do, is I don't like to waste time, and I don't like to waste people money. I mean, I like to go to work. Actually, that's an oxymoron, because I don't even feel like I work. I feel like I just go hang out, talk to people. But I like to go to the office and feel like I'm impacting the life that's sitting before me. If I'm not impacting, it feels boring and I don't want nothing to do with it. And I get bored and I want to go do something else. So I just, after a couple of visits, if I find that we don't have no relation, I refer out. Because what's the point of me sitting there using all the time and resources of an individual and then not getting any help? That's not that's not godly to me, first of all. So if I can't impact the individual's life, I send them to somebody that I believe may can. At least they keep their units and they keep their money in their pocket until they're able to get the help that they need. Because at the end of the day, if I'm using it all up, by the time they get the help that they need, they ain't got no units and no more resources. And that's stealing to me. That's just how that is. I can't sleep at night with stuff like that. So, like I said, getting back to self-care, treating people right. That's one way I do self-care. I treat people the way I want to be treated. Um, I'm not going to do to somebody else that I wouldn't want done to me. So, like I say, self-care, and I guess the approach that I could use, it's like my mantra. It's called my Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and give you a full science presentation, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs, look it up. It's about Abraham Maslow. Um, he was able to put things like in a pyramid, the human motivation in our needs and stuff. The foundation, the bottom basis of my pyramid before it even starts, for me, it's prayer. For some, it's meditation. For some, is wishing and hoping and horoscopes and all that. For me, it's prayer. however you want to look at it, whatever source that's outside of your being, whatever being that's greater than yourself that you try to tap into, that is the foundation. It is the spirit behind, you know, that propels you forward upon this um, pyramid, this trajectory. So for me, it's prayer. I have to talk to somebody, something outside or greater than my being. It centers me. It brings me balance. That's another thing. Your countenance is you know, is it shows whether the people that run around, they look like they all over the place. You can see the stress in their face and everything. People who pray or meditate or yoga or whatever you want to do, they have a sense of balance. People who are all willy-nilly and don't believe in anything but themselves, you can tell it. That they are their best, they are their own creator. They're selfish. They, whatever they go say goes. And they don't have the ability to do what they want to do because they didn't create themselves, but in their mind they think they did. But there's a child out there that screams to the top of her lungs, and that's one way to try to keep my composure, because sometimes I just want to go out there and say something to that parent. It don't make no sense to be that disrespectful. But anyway, I'm sitting here trying to do this. That's another way I keep my composure. But again, back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Um, it's a psychological theory that, like I said, it organizes your human needs into a 5-tier pyramid. You know, and I think what I'll do is I'm gonna bust up each tier, you know, and schedule the videos out. That way you can look at it and listen to it and apply it to your life and get to your highest level of functioning, as the insurance say. But it's at the highest level of functioning is called self-actualization. So Abraham Maslow proposed human motivation is driven by hierarchy of needs, typically depicted as a pyramid with 5 levels, ranging from fundamental psychological needs to the pursuit of sexual self-actualization. That's why I better put my glasses on. That's basically what we're going to be talking about. So, your lower level of needs, like I said, before I start the pyramid, is prayer. I pray in the morning, I pray in the evening, I pray all day long. It's prayer. Um, that's what centers me. That's what governs me. Um, you got to have something. You got to believe in something that's outside of yourself, bigger than yourself, greater than yourself. Because you didn't create the universe, you didn't create yourself. You got to have a source. And that source is what you pull your energy from. It hones in. So if your source is negative and your life is always chaotic, that's the reason why. If your source is peace, truth, abundance, you're more calm. You know, blood pressures tend to balance. Health conditions are the way they are based on the countenance and the energies that we allow into our life. Toxic energies generally keeps blood pressures and glucose levels and all kind of things in our body out of whack, out of control. So peace and calm and tranquility and serenity, sleep, that's one of the first levels. You know, it causes balance. It causes restoration can come through. If you are willy-nilly, if you are toxic, if you always keeping fuss, if you always feel like you got battles to do or to fight, that's the reason why your life isn't going or flowing as smooth as it should be. Now, if you are a person that likes that type of lifestyle, then maybe that is small, flowing smoothly. There are some people that don't have nothing better in their life but to cause havoc in everybody else's life because they get a rise out of it. There are some people who are alone and they are bored and they like to pit people against other people just so that they can have a movie script that they somewhat created to watch. Instead of taking the time and piece of paper and write a movie for themselves, they use other people's livelihood to perpetuate an agenda. And if we don't never sit and try to find truth and study to show ourselves approved, generally we go along with these people, these agendas, until the lie is exposed. And then that's when we want to go do something to that individual. But make sure you're walking in truth. Make sure the people that are in your life don't have an agenda. Make sure they want to support you because they want to support you and not because it's something that they're trying to perpetuate. Now, I was saying on at the Bible study I teach on the other channel, people come and want you to cook food all the time. There's this young lady cook food all the time. Is it because they're too lazy to cook? Or is it because they really like your cooking? Or find out the agenda. Why do they want you to cook food all the time? If it's taking up too much of your time to where you don't even have self care or manage your own household, that's being an infidel. I mean, why you can't take care of somebody else more than you taking care of yourself? Because see, what profits a man to save the world and lose his own soul? That's what that looks like. If I'm constantly taking care of everybody else and never taking care of myself, eventually I'm going to be no more. My finances will be down. I won't be able to go and, get another Cadillac or whatever. So, and that's another point. Make sure that whoever you're listening to or who's ever in your circle, make sure their livelihood or their lifestyle is matching up with what they're telling you. If they telling you one thing, but you see their livelihood doing something else, why would you listen to that? Because obviously whatever they're saying isn't working in their life. There are some people robbing Peter to pay Paul. Right now, my credit cards are pretty maxed out because I've been doing things and, helping people or whatever, but I've been doing it strategically. There are some people that max out credit cards just to max out credit cards just because they want this, they want that. They want to buy, they see something, they want to buy it, knowing they can't afford it or whatever. Um, I basically live with my credit cards because I don't like paying interest. So I just pay them and use them again. But I'm getting to the point where I'm going to start downsizing, making extra payments because I got a goal that I want to achieve now. I want to qualify for this condo. I'm going into ownership. As a single mom, I thought, just renting and then, when the kids got their own place, I was just going to travel, on my laptop or whatever. But I changed my mind and I decided that I'm going to own something. That way, worst case scenario, when God calls me to glory, they can fight over it, they can rent it out, they can do whatever they want to do with it. But I want to have a place to call home, where regardless of where I end up, Florida, DC, wherever, I want to have a place to call home. So I'm going to start targeting my finances. That's self care, having a goal for yourself. knowing what you're going to do for you, not just being all willy-nilly helping and doing for everybody else, watching everybody else life, succeed and everything. Maybe your life ain't succeeding because you don't have no goals to attain or to reach. So therefore no goals, no motivation to do anything. Maybe you've become comfortable in the lifestyle that you're living and you're not seeking anything else for yourself. Therefore, in your comfortability, if that's a word, people are coming to get what they want from you and you just giving it because you're comfortable. Like, I love the fact that my children, as a single mom, I never wanted to be or live a substandard lifestyle. I love the fact that my children, they come to me, mom, and I'm able to give. Um, Now, lately they've been doing it a lot more than they normally, so I'm gonna have to start pulling some stuff back because, like I said before on another channel, I want to make sure that they can stand if anything happened to me. So I'm gonna start saying a little no. They ain't gonna like it, but I'm gonna start saying no in some areas. That way they can figure it out for themselves. And then, I don't want them to get comfortable in doing that. And then one day I'm gone. So I love the fact that my children can just say mom and, I'm there for them or I can be there for them. Um, like I said, I never wanted to live a substandard lifestyle. When I was on welfare, it was a crutch. It helped me, get to where I need to be. It taught me what it was supposed to teach me, but I hated it with a passion because I felt like I was on this fixed income and I felt like I was in a cage that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. It never allowed me or afforded me the finances to breach out and do the things that I wanted to delve into. So that's what gave me the motivation to get into school. And then once I got into school, I became a professional student. Like, a lot of people don't like me to say that, but I did. And I got all these degrees because I didn't want to turn anybody away, basically. And number two, because it was um, too expensive to stop going to school because I wasn't trying to get them student loans, start being paid then. Now we got the SAVE program in it. I don't know what they're going to do or whatever. But like I say, it is what it is. With what we got in office, we don't know what is going to happen. We don't even know if World War III going to show up. So, we just deal with life as life is handed to us. But we got to have a balance. We got to have self-care. We got to make sure that we're taking care of our own mental, our own spiritual, and our own physical health. If we ground ourselves, then we can pretty much deal with anything that comes to us. We just don't want to pack it in and hold grudges. We don't want to take on more than we can chew. You know, you know, in our Bible scholars, they talk about God ain't gonna put on us more than we can bear. Well, I don't know where that was ever in the scriptures. I don't think that's in the scriptures. I think what he does is when he puts stuff on us, he gets in it with us. If anybody remember the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, um, he was in there in the fiery furnace. So God puts on us whatever he wants to put on us. And if it's too much, he's in there. I just don't want to believe that either. I believe he's in there. I don't care how hot it is or what level it is. Even if it's something that we can handle, I believe he's there with us. You got the footprints. He was walking and carrying us. He's walking beside us. So we say we believe in God. We say that, we have faith, but our actions is what really proves it and really shows it. So even out of all this stuff that's been going on, like my finances with this woman, she don't have no balance. Her countenance shows that she all about getting money by any means necessary. It's always money, money, money on the mind. Um, I had a conversation where I didn't put certain things on a piece of paper because I didn't do them. And I was told that I could go ahead and do that because there is another code that can be used to just talk to one person and it'll cover everybody else. I'm being honest about a job that I didn't do. And this individual is telling me that we can do it this way because all they thinking about is getting paid. Um, I don't like to work in environments like that. Anytime, the people that anytime you ask them something, it's always about one agenda. It's always about money, making money. You can't serve money and God, which means you can't serve love and God. If you loving on people, that's what you do. But if you serving money, there will come a time where you will sell your mama short over that money. Money don't love nobody. Money is fleeting. It comes and it goes. And it don't care who it hurts when it leaves. So I don't wake up every day to serve money. I make money. Money don't make me. That's another way I cope. I don't let the things or the money get above my head. They're just tools that I use to do what I need to do throughout the day, to do my job effectively. Yes, I choose certain things because they're comfortable, not because of the price tag behind it. It's because it's comfortable. I'm in the vehicles all the time, and I choose the vehicles that I choose because I don't like peeling out of something that's economy. So I pay the extra money, the extra price to do what I do in the premium luxuries that I choose. So it's not because I can't drive anything else, but it's because I have to be comfortable. I don't want my body aching when I come out of the vehicles or whatever. So, and I happen to like the vehicles that I choose. They happen to be perfect size for me. The pedals happen to be exactly where I need them. I just love the vehicles that I use. So, but if God give me something different, I could go to that something different. It's not about the vehicle. It's about the service. Does it allow me to do the service effectively? Most of the time it does. Even my clients. For some, they get in there and from one end of town to the other, that's the best sleep that they're able to get because they don't have nowhere to sleep. So it's doing above and beyond. Um, this is all about the spirit, the countenance, the influence, the energies or whatever. Prayer, your source. What is your source? What is the source that you plug into every day that allows you to perpetuate whatever spirit or energy that's on the inside of you? Are you angry every day? Are you, insecure? What's perpetuating the energies that you have? When people look at you, do you look inviting? Do you look like people can comfortably walk up and talk to you, say something to you? Or do you have a face where people don't want to say anything? They may be afraid or you know, they just leave you alone. If you are a person that want community, you got to have an inviting countenance. You can't just be all stank face, and you can't be petty. People don't want to hang around people that's petty. You can't be gossiping. People don't want to hang around people that gossip. That's just, we're dealing with the spirit first. I think I'm going to cut it there. Check your spirit. Check your energy. Check your source. When you wake up in the morning, what do you do? Do you wake up in the morning? That's for those who never go to sleep. Some people can't sleep. Why? Find out why. All right. Like I said, I'm going to cut this one. I'm going to do them in sessions, because some people act like they can't cut the thing off. They go do something else and come back later. But I'm going to do some in sessions, and then I'll post it on different days. All right. Until the next one. Stay blessed.